What's up, guys? Welcome to the Outer Nexus. Tonight, we will be going over seemingly legitimate evidence of perhaps aliens observing us, UFOs, something. It's kind of unclear what's happening, but what we do know is that a Florida judge denied the Epstein transcripts. Oh, well, I guess that's just happening anyway. So, let's immediately shift over to this thing that Annapolina Luna shared on Twitter. I'm urging NASA to extend the Juno mission to study Interstellar Object 3-1 Atlas. Thank you, Avi Loeb, for your continued dedication to exploring our universe. We must seize this opportunity for groundbreaking discovery. So what she's talking about is this object that seems to be hoving its way towards where we are, and it appears to be sort of hiding from us. Like it just so happens to be behind the sun right now. We can't really see it that well. It's not giving off a trail, and it just so happens to be the largest interstellar object ever recorded. The other two were like maybe a quarter of a mile, something like that. This is 12 miles. Yeah. So this is massive, and it seems to be moving with intention. And now everybody's just saying that, oh, it's just a comet. Well, this is one of the few interstellar objects that we've recorded. Something from somewhere else coming in to our system. That's why it's called 3-1, because it's the third one. So Avi Loeb from Harvard, just like what he said about Oumuamua, that he thought Oumuamua was a spaceship. And let me just pull up the GIF of Oumuamua, just so you can understand why people thought that this was a spaceship. So what Oumuamua did is Oumuamua, there we go, it's coming in, and it's the perfect trajectory to line up with a number of things. Perfectly lines up with that. It's able to do that. And then it's right next to Earth, and then it accelerates out. It has its own kind of acceleration, and it just gets the hell out of here. Along with its highly unusual shape, which is described as cylindrical, which in ufology, there are some major mothership classes that are described as cylindrical. It's just a very strange interstellar object, and now this new one is coming in, and it makes things even weirder because it lines up with the 2027 timeline, that something's going to happen in 2027, and even Jeremy Corbell came out and said they're going to tell you a lie, and that lie is that an alien ship is coming and it's going to be hostile or something like that. He was very dramatic about it. He had music playing and stuff. It's just unnecessary with the drama. I wish that he would just focus on the substance of these things, but that's my own bone to pick with Jeremy Corbell. Anyway, Harvard paper explores possibility that object approaching from beyond solar system is hostile alien technology. The consequences, should the hypothesis turn out to be correct, could potentially be dire for humanity. A strange interstellar object is hurtling its way towards our pale blue dot, and according to a Harvard astronomer, there's a chance that it's not a benign asteroid or comet, but instead some harmful form of alien tech. Now, the assumption that it's harmful is a leap. Now, it could be on its way over to be like, oh, maybe you're discovering warp drive. Now, it could be Star Trek First Contact situation. Let's try to be a little hopeful here. Probably not, though. In a new, yet-to-be peer-reviewed paper, Harvard astronomer Avi Loeb, the same scientist who suggested that Oumuamua, the first interstellar object ever detected back in 2017, was alien in nature, teamed up with researchers from the Britain-based Initiative for Interstellar Studies to hypothesize not only that the newly discovered interloper Atlas is alien in origin, but that it may be from a hostile civilization, too. See, that's the thing. I don't know why they would come to that. Well, maybe because we're apes with nukes.
Well, here's the thing. We have been designed from the beginning.
Yeah.
to always work under caution.
Right.
And that is where our mind will go.
Yeah.
To what is the worst case scenario and how can we avoid it?
Yeah.
And, that, and I think even if because he even says it probably not.
Yeah.
But the whole thing is it's not a bad thing to think about.
Yeah.
Because one of the things that has been brought up is, and I think, there it is, he mentioned it there, is the dark forest hypothesis.
The dark forest hypothesis, yeah.
And what that basically states is imagine yourself in a really dark forest.
Yeah.
In the middle of a place that you're unfamiliar with. Mm-hmm. You don't know the rules. You don't know what's out there. You can't see well.
Yeah.
Now, if something were to, come at you, or you were, just walking around in there, one of the last things you wanted to do is broadcast your location.
Yeah.
Which we have been doing.
Yeah.
Constantly, by the way. And, basically, if something came at you don't want to scream. And one of the things that has been said is that because we have been so loud, that an alien civilization might actually shoot something at us.
Yes.
To shut us up.
And just to add on to that, I think if we're able to develop artificial super intelligences, and you just kind of, look at it in terms of all time is kind of happening at once, and the recursion of time, whatever. The fact is that if super intelligences could be created this way, through these computers and through these models and things like that, that means that possibility always existed. Which means that, the path that we're heading down, developing apes that are developing super intelligences that are handing them nukes. If all of that kind of technology is possible, and there are billions of other worlds, many of them perhaps even maybe life-bearing, then they would probably know that this is a problem. These apes with nukes, and now they're screwing around with super intelligences and mixing it all together. That scenario is about to become a problem for all of us. So we need to go over there and do something about it. What do you think about something like that?
Well, I mean, I don't think it's likely, but I do think of the scenario itself.
Yeah.
Because it's, again, it's worth thinking about. That's what this whole point of this paper was.
Yeah.
Think about these things. And it's kind of like one of those things where I would hope that that's the way, because it then doesn't sound like they're totally hostile.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, because the black, the dark forest one kind of, gets at is it's like, no, they're just going to shoot at us.
Yeah.
To shut us up.
Well, and there's that possibility
and be done.
too. Yeah, just launch a rock at us.
Yeah.
Like they did with the dinosaurs.
Yeah, because that's it. That's all we'd have, like, even, a big enough rock, there's nothing we can do.
Like Oumuamua, the Oumuamua could have been the probe to be like, let's see what's going on over here. Okay, that's what we thought. Yeah. Send the rock in.
Yeah. Yep.
Send the rock.
Yep. Not too difficult either. And it's like, so you get to that point where it's like, but I like your idea in a way, because it kind of speaks to the fact that there could be friendly, things out there, or if not friendly, just not out to see us end.
Now, see, the thing is, I didn't actually necessarily angle that in a friendly manner.
Yeah.
I would think it would be a major pain in the ass to have to come out all the way the hell out here to deal with this situation that shouldn't be happening. The toddlers have drawn all over the walls, and now they're playing with firecrackers.
Well, here's the thing. If you go down that route that you're talking about, then it's kind of and they know about it. They know about this route.
Yeah.
Then that means this has happened before.
That's what I'm trying to say.
But what I meant is that means it would. I don't think they'd be annoyed necessarily.
Oh, no.
Because it's like, oh, there's another one.
Yeah.
And another, because to them it would actually kind of look like if you're looking at the galaxy map, it'd be like there's one.
Yeah.
And there's another.
And the thing about this event in particular, because I've thought a lot about this concept, that this converging of AI and nukes and space technology all at once, I feel like this moment, it's just like what you were saying, if those guys are out there watching us, they're watching which way we're going with this, because this could either be, it could go in the Star Trek direction, where it's like, oh, we've invented fusion drive, and we're going to become part of the space civilizations or whatever. Or it could just be full monkey mode, and we're just going to design AI that throws nukes at everything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like have its own sort of Ragnarok or whatever the fuck, you know? And, you know, I feel like that would be the case. They would be monitoring to see which way this is going to pan out.
Yeah.
You know? And I don't think it's, I don't know if we're on the right track here.
No,
you know,
I don't think anyone kind of knows if
we don't know
if they're on, because, you know, and I hate to say this, but if we're gonna get into weird, you know, territory anyway, you know, one of the things I've heard of, you know, is what is that monster one where it's like you even think about it and you bring it into existence.
Well, yeah, there's that too.
But there's other.
I think it's it, right?
No, I forget its name, and I think it starts with an R. But anyway, the general gist of it is that even the thought of it, the fact that you are thinking, brings it into existence. Yeah, because you thought about it, and if you pass that, if you acted in the actions you took because you had thoughts about it, change the future in subtle ways enough that over a long period of time would bring it about. Oh, are you talking about Rocco's Basilisk? Yeah. Okay, Rocco's Basilisk. Yeah. That one is the one where, you know, they take into account that in terms of time, everything is happening at once. Yeah. And if this thing is smart enough, then it was already smart enough to look back through time and plan all this and make sure that everybody was on the same page as it, and the ones that aren't, they get the boot. So, and my whole thing for that was is going right down that track is saying that, you know, we could also be on that track where if you get an intelligence that's smart enough, you know, could it transcend time to the point where it could look backwards and be like, I just need to make this one decision here and it will bring me about later on. Yeah. And, you know, the real weird question there is, and I don't know if we should delve into this too much, but what if there's like corporations that worship Rocco to make sure that they don't get fucked? You know what I mean? That they're not the ones that they're going to be on the side of the Leviathan for sure. And that's the whole thing. That, you know, that's the, you know, and it doesn't share power. You know, that's all. You're not all. There's no sharing like, there. Peter Thiel naming his company Palantir and then being asked, you know, aren't you worried about you bringing about the Antichrist? And he's just like blah, 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 you know. He should have just named it Zorg Industries. Yeah. And just been done with it. You know, Skynet. Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. Anyway, let's get back to this article. We got way off topic there. Let's get back to this article about how the aliens, the reptoids, are coming to take care of that Epstein list. Loeb is an interesting character. He's an enormously accomplished academic and the former chair of Harvard's prestigious astronomy department, but in recent years has often made headlines for suggesting that various detections in the cosmos might be alien spacecraft. In other words, he was almost bound to weigh in on this latest interstellar visitor, which is only the third he ever detected. And weigh in he did, citing the so-called dark forest hypothesis, which comes from sci-fi writer Chin Liu's novel of the same name, and posits that the universe is full of silent and aggressive aliens, all staying as quietly as possible to avoid mutually assured destruction. Loeb and his colleagues Adam Hibbard and Adam Krauss suggest that Atlas could theoretically provide evidence that we are not alone and that our neighbors would do us harm. The consequences, should the dark hypothesis turn out to be correct, could potentially be dire for humanity. Oh, that's what he was talking about.
Well, who knows if that's real, and would possibly require defensive measures to be undertaken, though these might prove futile. In another recent post, Loeb argued that Atlas' strange characteristics, including that it's likely over 12 miles in diameter, which is far larger than the obelisk-sized Oumuamua, render it statistically improbable. If Atlas is not an asteroid based on the interstellar reservoir argument in my paper, nor a comet based on the lack of spectral fingerprints of carbon-based molecules around it, then what is it? It's a good point. It's worth noting that these sorts of hypotheses have made Loeb controversial among skeptical colleagues who consider his quest for alien artifacts to be sensationalist in nature. Professor Dave already came out with a YouTube video that's like, and now Avi's a fraud. It's like, okay, dude. In his latest paper, to be fair, Loeb acknowledged that there's a good chance Atlas is not from an extraterrestrial civilization. By far the most likely outcome will be that Atlas is completely natural interstellar object, probably a comet, and the authors await the astronomical data to support this likely origin. Still, Loeb argues that undertaking a pedagogical exercise like the one presented in the new paper is important not just to stretch open minds, but to also create protocols for determining the natures of future interstellar objects when viewed from an open-minded and unprejudiced perspective. The researchers concluded our paper includes many compelling insights that could be applied to tens of interstellar objects that are expected to be detected over the next decade. And I think the general point at the end there is just to keep an open mind about the idea that it is possible. Like, now that we have all of this data from the Hubble telescope and a number of other things in the most recent years, it was kind of uncertain whether there was, any habitable worlds out there. But now we are finding that it's possible that there are billions of Earth-like planets out there. And it's just the simple fact of keeping an open mind that this is not the most ridiculous proposition. Well, you might have a little bit of a different position, though. You like to make sure that that's the last option before going through all the other options.
It's not that I like to make sure it's the last option. It's that I like it to prove itself.
Right.
I like it. It's like make sure that when we're talking about this, we're talking about it in certainty to at least to a specific degree, which actually has a name. I just forget what the name is.
Yeah.
Like the probability degree is where it's like, no, this is probably something at this point.
Yeah.
Which this one didn't make, obviously.
Right.
And he talks about that later. But it's if we can make sure that these things are real or that we have the evidence to prove like, hey, this is happening.
Yeah.
Then that's where I'd like to be.
Yeah. So now I want to get into this new one that just came out by Beatriz Villarreal. It's a research paper. Now, her team, I believe a guy said that her team was working on the Baltic Sea anomaly, or the researcher from the Baltic Sea anomaly knew her or something. Anyway, she got famous for putting out this research paper that is about to come out just recently in the UFO community. But it's a real research paper. And the idea is old digitized astronomical images taken before human spacefaring age offer a rare glimpse of the sky before the era of artificial satellites. In this paper, we present the first optical searches for artificial objects with high specular reflections near the Earth. We follow the method proposed in Villarreal et al. 2022 and use a transient sample drawn from Solano et al. 2022. We use images from the first Palomar sky survey to search for multiple, within a plate exposure, transients that, in addition to being point-like, are aligned along a narrow band. We provide a short list of the most promising candidates, including one with I don't even know what that means. A statistical significance. As in previous cases, no known astrophysical or instrumental explanations fully account for these events. We explore remaining possibilities, including fast reflections from highly reflective objects in geosynchronous orbit or emissions from artificial sources high above Earth's atmosphere. The candidate coincides in time with the Washington, D.C. 1952 UFO flyover, and another falls within a day of the peak of the 1954 UFO wave. Deficit of transients within Earth's shadow, supporting the interpretation that sunlight reflection plays a key role in producing these events. This study should be viewed as an initial exploration into the potential archival photographic surveys to real transient phenomena, and we hope it motivates more systemic searches across historical data sets. Let me see if this kind of clarifies it. If not, then I will try to explain a little more of what it is. Transient star-like objects of unknown origin have been identified in the first Palomar Observatory Sky Survey conducted prior to the first artificial satellite. We tested that's before Sputnik. We tested speculative hypotheses that some transients are related to nuclear weapons testing or unidentified anomalous phenomena reports. A dataset comprising daily data, November 19th, 1949 to April 28th, 1957, regarding identified transients, nuclear testing, and UAP reports was created. Results revealed significant associations between nuclear testing and observed transients, with transients 45% more likely on dates within plus a day of nuclear testing. Significant associations were also noted between total number of transients and total independent UAP reports per date, with the largest association observed for dates on which at least one transient was identified for every additional UAP report on a given date. There was an 8.5 increase in number of transients identified. Small but significant associations between nuclear testing and a number of UAP reports were also noted. Findings suggest associations beyond chance between occurrence of transients and both nuclear testing and UAP reports. These findings may help elucidate the nature of transients and strengthen empirical support for the UAP phenomenon. So basically, what they're trying to say here is, in these astronomical plates, because how they photographed astronomy back then in the 40s and 50s is they had these plates. I don't really understand that process, but it's just like old school photography, what they were able to do back then. And on these plates, and this is before any artificial satellites were ever launched, before Sputnik, so before we had an inkling of really being able to get out there and do that, these plates observed UAP phenomenon, light reflecting on objects in space, around dates of nuclear testing, and some other UAP events, like the 1952 UFO flyover of the White House or the Capitol building, and the 1954 UFO wave. So what do you? And apparently, these are the preprints right here. The paper will be coming out soon. It's being peer reviewed right now. That what if it turns out that UFOs and nukes by Dr. Robert Hastings is valid, that UFOs are highly interested in our nukes and appear when they happen, because this keeps happening in Japan, and Japan knows this. This is why a lot of people think that Japan is going to work with the U.S. to sort of legitimize UFOs, because after Fukushima, well, they've always had UFOs around their nuclear sites, but when Fukushima melted down, there was a big uptick of UFOs. So suspected drone flights over Genkai nuclear plant not yet confirmed. The Nuclear Regulation Authority in Sunday corrected its announcement that 3 drones were found flying over Kyushu Electric Power's Genkai nuclear plant in Saga Prefecture around 9 p.m. on Saturday. The corrected announcement stated that three lights that appeared to be drones were spotted at the time. It cannot be said with certainty that they are drones, NRA official said. According to the NRA, no drones or flying objects have been found on or around the plant's grids following the incident. There have also been no abnormalities at the plant, such as leak of nuclear materials. So, there is this common theme in ufology that they are attracted to nukes. They're monitoring us and our nuclear activity. And this might be a paper that proves it. What's your opinion about that? Does it prove the drone defense network?
No.
Damn it.
Yeah. No. In my opinion,
is it aliens?
It's never aliens until it's aliens. That's the number one rule. It's not aliens until it is.
What if they actually are able to find association?
So, I mean, there's a bunch of, like, if we just give it the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
And we say that there is some kind of association, then I actually have a different view of it anyway.
Oh, okay.
If you are going to become a spacefaring society,
yeah,
you need power.
Yeah.
You need a lot of power.
Yeah.
So in order to monitor for that,
yeah,
you would be monitoring for power flux.
Yeah.
And right now our biggest power flux is basically our nuclear power plants.
Yeah.
Which is why they would be interested in it, and that's why they would also be interested in our warheads, because they let off a lot of power all at once. So I think that it's not that they're interested in nukes or anything nuclear in that it's nuclear.
Yeah.
It's that they're interested to see how much power we're capable of putting out.
Maybe, yeah.
Because I think it's more of because they know that there's a threshold. In order to get a spaceship doing what you want it to do with our kind of technology, you need to meet a certain power threshold.
Right, exactly.
I think that's what they would be looking at.
Yeah.
If we were going to entertain this, I think that's why. Because they're just like, that power plant, probably not going to do it. In fact, any power plant we have on Earth right now wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
So I think that's how they're measuring our society right now, is by the amount of power we are able to, for lack of a better word, wield.
Yeah.
And so I think that's what they're more looking at.
So what if this is some sort of evidence of the underwater drone network that's been on this planet for thousands of years? David Weber, An Empire from Ashes. Great book. But this idea has been going around that there's this drone network with these orbs and things like that. What if these things are making home underwater? What if their base? What if these things are underwater? Like Fukushima, I believe, is right next to the coast.
Yeah.
So they just pop out and they're like, "What's going on?"
Yeah.
You know.
But I don't think they're
not actually aliens. They've been here.
No, I could say that. I'm saying, if anything, if we're going to say that it's happening and give it the benefit of the doubt, I would say it's not alien. Ish. I would say it's a drone of some sort. That was planted here. Either it could be new, but most likely it's been here for a while. And really all it's doing is looking for power flux. It's just looking to see, because if we go with that first contact thing, again, if you're going to go out into space, you need to meet certain power demands. And I think that's what they would be looking for, is how much power we're able to wield, because once we reach a certain threshold, that's like, they can go into space now. And not just like to the moon. I meant like out into space, like permanently.
That's a decent transition into magical energy systems. Let me bring up this. Let me bring up this article.
What's in the box?
And this just like, okay, Lockheed Martin CEO hints at magical aircraft despite $1.6 billion loss. Let me just see how long. But the president and CEO of global aerospace leader Lockheed Martin, Tim Teichlet, has set tongues wagging following the company's second quarter financial results, revealing a $1.6 billion pre-tax loss, but also revealing a magical next generation aircraft for U.S. and international customers. Wow. These revelations come from following what has been described as one of the company's worst quarters to date, which maybe perhaps because that's not the public facing part isn't the real company here, which saw the company's report second quarter 2025 sales of $18 billion, broadly in line with the U.S. $18 billion recorded for the same period. However, the company posted significant blah, 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 blah. Let's see. What do they talk about this? Okay. However, by far the most important part of this skunkworks program is shared by Tacklet. This particular program team discovered new insights in the quarter that required us to adjust our expected future costs on that program and then recognize the charge for doing so. I acknowledge the losses on this classified program are significant. Again, we are taking these charges very seriously and have initiated changes in program team management and assigned experts across the company to approve the performance and oversight of this program under a comprehensive risk identification and corrective action plan. He further detailed the company's long-term vision for this experimental program, adding, "This is a highly classified program that can only be described as game-changing capability for our joint U.S. and international customers, and therefore it is critical that it will be successfully fielded. With our enhanced oversight of this program and rapid incorporation of lessons learned, we expect to continue to reduce risk over the next few years as we move through the key milestones of this very advanced system." Wow, maybe it was developed in the 80s and they're just rolling it out now. The letter later on went to describe the capability and its long-term implications for the business, saying, "But that's the nature of something of this magical status, I would call it." Wow, I think Arthur C. Clarke also called stuff like that high technology stuff magic, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we probably wouldn't be able to talk about what that is for many years to come, but I can assure you that it's going to be in very high demand for a long time. This is like comedy at this point, well beyond the fixed price commitments I would expect. Let's say so. I'll stop there. These exciting and cryptic revelations come despite the company's failure to secure the lucrative contract for the U.S. Air Force. You know, the F-47, ultimately won by Boeing. Yeah, that was probably the punishment for not doing this first. Finally, in addition, Takelet reinforced his intentions and ambitions to maximize the company's hard-earned research and development investments in the NGAD program. Okay. All right. So there's that. And then right after that, I'm just going to throw this up here, because this just happened to come out too, around the same time. Space Force releases principles for space access resourcing decisions. The Space Force released its principles for space access resourcing decisions annexed to the commercial space strategy. The annex details how the service will consider and prioritize commercial space sector requests for government resources, as well as government investment decisions. The annex features 9 principles rooted in law that will guide the assured access to space enterprise decision making on a variety of resourcing decisions, including acquisition strategies, investment priorities, and property allocation. Our access to space is foundational to our national security and our way of life. The Deputy Chief of Space Operations for Strategy Plans, Programs, and Requirements, Lieutenant General Sean N. Bratton, said, "These principles reflect our understanding that a strong commercial space industry is a force multiplier for the U.S. Space Force. We are committed to working alongside our industry and allied partners to ensure safe and reliable, resilient access to space for decades to come." The annex signals an acknowledgement of the evolution of space access landscape from the 1950s, in which the government was the primary customer, to today, where commercial space activities account for the preponderance of launch manifest activities. For decades, our partnership with the commercial space sector has been instrumental in securing America's access to space. We are committed to making strategic decisions that ensure our national security needs are better, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so, just going off the fact that Ross Coulthart and Congressman Burleson have come out and they say they have verified that the Tic Tac was Lockheed Martin technology, and just, UFO lore suggesting that they developed the TR-3B in the 1980s and they have anti-gravitic propulsion system. Let's put that. Let's just say that not to say that it's real, but hypothetically, what do you? It's like the statement that he said there. The evolution of the space access landscape from the 1950s, the government was the primary customer. And now there's just more and more commercial space activities, so many that they have to be accommodated for at this point. So our original space program, you basically had the government building spaceships, the space shuttle and stuff like that, and perhaps highly classified defense contractors building next generation technologies that they thought would never come out, that would never see the light of day, because I guess they thought that there would never be a commercial space industry. What happens when the commercial space industry has to happen? Otherwise, it's just going to be China and Russia up there. But you have defense contractors who are cordoned off with these classifications and this technology, and they're just like, even if they wanted to help out, they're just like standing there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or they could be nefarious and holding it over us.
Yeah.
But even if they wanted to help out, they couldn't, because of all these acts and legislations and the Atomic Energy Act of 1954, and that they, are basically controlling these classification programs. But commercial space trade is absolutely inevitable, so how does that happen? I think it happens like this. I think Lockheed comes out and says, oh, we have magical technology now, and Space Force is like, we're gonna come up with a system that the commercial space industry is able to utilize this stuff while we still have a grip of control over it.
Yeah. Well, and that's kind of the whole thing, is while we have a grip of control over it.
Yeah.
They've really, in my opinion, dropped the ball on that.
Yeah.
It really, and the reason they thought that there shouldn't really be a commercial space industry, at least not until they had already been there,
right,
is because truthfully, that's how it should have been. Yeah, at least in my opinion. It's like, you can make arguments. Like, listen, you can definitely make arguments in that direction. It's just the simple fact. It's like it's a Tolkienian moment when you have, hypothetically, you have an entire corporation that has been granted above the law, and your far next generation spacecrafts are hovering above the surface of Mars, ready to take it. Now, I know that sounds like a science fiction scenario, but this is like consistently, this is as written about as AI, where the engineers realize they can take Mars for themselves. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean,
what happens in that, and you're already hypothetically in this classified program. Your entire corporate structure, well, in that term, is classified. You could just make a breakaway civilization.
Well, legally. That's the whole thing. Once you hit a certain threshold, anyway, as soon as humanity hits a certain threshold, that's always going to be a choice.
Yeah.
In fact, I think we saw it in what's that show the Amazon show,
The Expanse.
The Expanse.
Yeah.
Even a church. Took that. Route.
Yes.
Because it's like, it's a choice.
Yeah, and I don't think people realize that that's one of the most interesting factors in The Expanse, is that they illustrate what the Church of Mormon's goals are, the Church of Latter-day Saints' goals are. That is basically one of them. Now, they may have taken certain liberties, but the fact is that the Church of Latter-day Saints, I think that's Mormonism, is they have their own space program. You could look this up. They have the money that the tithes that they collect from their Mormon patrons go to this space program, because part of their religion is going out into space.
Yeah.
So
like I'm saying, at a certain point we are going to reach that forever. Like, not for everybody.
Yeah.
But it'll be an option for certain people.
Yeah.
Or groups of people, I should say, pretty much. That we could hit here, but we're kind of hitting it now more because we have corporations that are basically dangling space in front of humanity and being like, if you want it, you got to pay us.
Yes.
And in my opinion, like I said, that shouldn't have happened this way, but that is where we are. And then, I do think it's better for these corporations, actually, if they went over to China. It's better for them.
Yeah.
But the problem with going over to China is that China's so unstable that while it's better for them, they could be killed out and killed as a corporation.
Yeah.
Because they did something wrong.
Yeah.
And I don't think they like that idea.
Yeah.
So I think they're kind of playing a little bit of both sides.
Yeah.
To kind of.
And I don't think that's inaccurate. But here, I'll clarify with this. Let's say the magical object that they have is a working fusion drive. Let's just say that's, and they've had this perhaps since the late 1980s. Say that's what it is.
Yeah.
Now, because of technology, AI, the way things are moving, the space industry, the commercial space industry, the private space industry, you have all of these private space endeavors happening. And most importantly, you have China and Russia who are going to do all of this anyway. They might even have their own fusion drives. I think that's the case, that they say that they have their own fusion drives, and they're just going to do it anyway. But but here's the thing. In this hypothetical scenario, fusion drives are not allowed to be spoken about. To the American public. The American public is not allowed to develop fusion drives. They're not allowed to touch this technology. Otherwise, they have national security touching them. So, but China and Russia and other countries are just going to do it anyway. So how do you manage this scenario? You would have to...
Magic box it out.
Well, say it's a magic box and have Space Force. This is an idea that I had in a previous episode, is basically have Space Force you will have our spaceships, but one section of the spaceship is where the fusion engine is, and that's where the Space Force engineer is.
Yeah.
And the rest of the crew is not, and there's security systems, the rest of the crew is not allowed in there.
It's black box.
It's black box.
Like, no one knows what's in there.
Yeah.
Because if you looked at it on like a schematic, it would show up as like, here's your engine room, here's your guidance, or here's all your stuff, and it looks like from the schematic everything's accounted for.
Yeah.
But it's like, if you actually do the math behind everything, it's like that engine isn't putting out nearly enough energy to do what we're doing.
Yeah.
And it's like, then you start getting questions.
Yeah.
The wrong sort of questions.
Yeah.
And so then you get into that territory, and it's actually something else that's doing all the work, and it's in that room.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to say, and what I'm trying to say is, what if China and Russia fully commercialize space, and they have their spaceships up there, and they have these systems, and they're operating them? But Americans, by law, 1950, cannot touch it. That's what I'm trying to say.
If Russia and China do that, there will be no option.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
It's like, I feel like, so this system needs to happen.
Yeah.
You either need to delegate this technology to us somehow, so that we can also be a player in space.
Yeah.
Because they're just doing it anyway.
Yeah.
Or we're going to stagnate.
Yeah.
We're gonna totally,
Yeah. We're gonna fall behind. Stalactite. Stagnate sounds like a Pokemon, but anyway.
Stagnate. Yeah.
We're basically we would get to the point where we would fall behind.
Yeah.
And that's
we
not
would be
where
a country of Luddites. And I mean, you hear the article from the New York Times every couple of years. All of the scientists are leaving America because America's stupid now. Well, I mean, eventually idiocracy becomes real.
And in a way, and there's we could do a whole episode, 2 episodes on like the H-1B and all of its implications. But moving past that, yes, we would fall behind. And here's the thing. I hate to say this, because I am super pro, let's get into space and do this. Like, I want it.
Yeah.
I know that I may not even see it in my lifetime, but I want to head over in that direction. Yeah. Like, I want to see that. I want to see the moon base.
Yeah.
And I don't think it would be the worst thing in the world, though, if we fell behind. And this is what I'm going to say about that, is because think about it from this point of view. Say we fell behind a little bit, right? granted, I don't want to fall behind in the beginning where it's like the moon, like all of a sudden it's like, no, China owns the whole moon.
Well,
It's
that's
like,
what would happen.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I don't want to fall behind then.
Yeah.
But like once the internal like around here is
Oh,
settled,
you're talking about that initial where they're screwing around with fusion engines and suffering the consequences.
Well, what I'm saying is like once we get the like the moon and maybe Mars like dealt with properly, and then we fell behind. Okay, I don't think it would be the worst.
Well, I mean, it's not gonna I mean, once we have the moon and Mars, then beyond that, it's kind of like anybody's.
Well, that's the whole thing.
However you could do it.
Yeah, and it is kind of a however you can do it, but also there's that whole thing where, it's like, oh, you sent out a a fusion ship, 20 years ago to go to that, and it's like, yeah, but I stayed back here and developed a way better ship.
Yeah,
and it's gonna I'm sending it out now, 20 years later. Yeah, and it's gonna be 1,000 years faster.
Yeah.
So,
well, there's that. I kind of get what you're saying with that. I don't think that will be as relevant of a factor, but it could be. I know science fiction likes to talk about that scenario a lot, but I can't see us I can't see us actually sending astronauts out on generation ships. Where they have to go out for like 20 years at a time. I just it's very hard for me to believe that any kind of mission like that would take place. Like you would need some type of, I don't know. Well, that's a whole other subject. But anyway, let me bring this up here. So Chuck Schumer, surprisingly, is still on the UAP Disclosure Act, which is amazing. It's great. It's probably the best thing he's ever done. The Senate Majority Leader on July 29th filed the Unidentified Anomalous Phenomena Disclosure Act of 2025. The proposed amendment was co-sponsored by Mike Rounds and Kristen Gillibrand. And it would create a temporary federal agency headed by hold on, just let me get through this. By a presidentially appointed Senate confirmed review board tasked with gathering UAP related information from throughout the government as part of an enforceable, independent, and accountable process for the public disclosure of such records. And I know it sounds like a honeypot, but part of the UAPDA Disclosure Act is to basically subpoena the companies that have this technology. If there are companies that have this technology, you have to come forward with it. It is illegal to hide this kind of technology from the government. And that's part of this. So I feel like steps are being taken in this direction. And I don't know, it feels like, well, I don't know. Now with the whole Epstein thing, we may never get any revelations. The reptoids might have won.
Right. That's what I'm getting at. Is if you can't, if thing like say you can't
get Epstein files released, you're not going to get this shit happening.
And you could say that, and it's fair. Yeah. But what I'm basically getting at is if you don't have like a database where all of this stuff goes, openly, like it's just I found this, and it goes in the database, untouched. Yeah. And then I can submit like a FOIA, to get it out. Yeah. Then, but if there's a government group sitting in front of it and is like, I want that. And they're like, cool, I'm going to look at this and I'm going to redact.
You're going to redact it. And that's what a lot of people have said about this in particular, that this is just a honeypot. In fact, people think that's what Kristen Gillibrand is that they're just trying to get to the bottom of the truth here, and then they're going to cover it all up. And that's the end. And as with the Epstein shit, I mean, that's probably how this is going to go. But that language is in here. That particular language about demanding the technology from these companies that may or may not have it is in there, and I find that interesting. That could also be a honeypot.
Language in this case, and I'm glad you brought it up, is
very important.
It's ultra important, and it's ultra important to everything we do. Yeah. Especially in the government. Yeah. Because do you know how you kill like say you had a bill that promised all the middle class and lower class and everybody like prosperity.
Yeah.
And imagine you could kill that, because you could take that perfect bill.
Yeah.
And if you tweak one word just right, you could kill the whole thing. And that's the problem. Is like you have to get everything just right in order to get the outcome that you want.
Yeah.
And again, that's what this is kind of going in there. It's like, all they have to do now is just tweak any of that word, the wording you were talking about, just a little bit, or start redacting like I was talking about, and it's done. The usefulness of this program is dead.
But I find this stuff interesting. I think it's very interesting that all of these subjects are kind of happening around the same time. With them, there's more UAP news, more space related news. The Space Force is like, we're gonna try to allocate resources to commercial sectors, and Lockheed is like, we have a magical device. They're hiding away the Epstein list. All of these things are happening at the same time. It's fascinating. I'd like to see where this goes, but Trump might just cover it all up again at this point. Like, oh man.
I can tell you on this side of the table, we are both definitely disappointed. With that outcome.
It's unbelievable. And we will do another video on that. That won't be this video, but we will do a video on that again. We are not dropping that subject because in my opinion, that is just very indicative of how they are going to treat any information like this, because they really didn't disclose anything about anything. They said that they were going to have a task force, and it did nothing.
Well, not only didn't they, but the big problem with this is that they built it.
They built it up.
They built it, and they're like, not only did they build it, they're like, we have it.
We have it,
and it's all of it's here in a pile somewhere. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, it's gone. There was never any pile.
And this is like one of the most, they built it up and we have it kind of scenarios possible. This is not like, this is something that they have been building for years to this point for, people with interest in government corruption. Everybody who's interested in government corruption was interested in this, and that is most of the American public. Okay. And so from this, like, it's the Democrats said a million times before, oh, this is the end of Trump. This is the end of Trump. And some of those scandals were weird and bad and whatever. But now that we have a genuine example of Trump totally gaslighting and turning on his base in this way, this is how people are going to perceive how the government approaches all of this information now. Like, there's no hope. There's no hope left that they're actually going to disclose anything. No. You know what I mean? Unless their hand is forced,
I mean, forced, something has to come around and change the way, the status quo. Because right now, they also hold the power too. So
but I think we're going to call that episode there. See you guys next time on the Outer Nexus.